Hi there, welcome to installment number 4 of Tennis Strategy 101, which by the end of this month is going to be an ebook, and it might also be in print. It'll be a very small print book, but the topic that we're going to cover today is the importance of hitting cross court, and we're really going to break that down. We're going to go really into super deep detail on cross-court hitting. So in installment 1, we talked about getting the ball up over the net. Installment 2, we talked about hitting a target on the court, because you have to be able to hit targets on the court. That's maybe your most important objective when you're learning how to play. Number 3, we talked about shot tolerance, and a part of shot tolerance was cross-court play. So here we are now in number 4. Now, if you're enjoying these talks, spend your social digital currency. I'm putting a lot of effort into doing this for you. I'm taking time out of my day, blah, 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 right? All that complaining, right? So just take your finger and press like, and then maybe share it to a group, right? If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're not on my YouTube, go to my YouTube and subscribe. And it's going to be a lot of fun, right? So every day, pretty much, I'm going to be having some new content. So anyway, now on to what we're doing here. Cross-court play is a major cog of every major strategy that you can play. And here's why. All right. The most important thing about cross-court play is that you get more court space to hit into. So if you're in the forehand corner and you hit all the way to the other forehand corner, then you have 82.5 feet to hit into rather than 78 feet, right? The second most important aspect of hitting cross-court is that because of that depth that's available to you, you can also push your opponent further back in the court and pull them off the court. So in a later video and in the book, I'm going to show a diagram of what I call neutral and aggressive cross-court shots. So a neutral cross-court shot could land anywhere in that forehand quadrant. So if you extend the line of the center line up the middle of the court and you make the court into 4 quadrants, if you aim for a spot right dead in the center of that quadrant, and if it was algebra, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be quadrant 2. All right. So go look at your Cartesian plane. But if you hit right in the middle of that quadrant, that's a very neutral cross-court shot. It's very safe because it's inside the court by 5 feet in every direction. So even if aiming for that, you miss by 5 feet, your ball's still in. That's important. It's a great way to reduce errors, because I find that people both play too safe and they play too risky. So they go for lines a little too often, and then they hit the ball, an inch or a foot or 2 or 3 feet wide. And that's a problem. So then what you can do is you can say, all right, anything that goes deeper or to the left of that was an accidental, more aggressive shot. But as you improve your accuracy of shot, then you can start to get your shots to go a little further and a little deeper to that corner. But you still want a little buffer of safety. And this is what they talk about I think this is what they mean when they say so-and-so hits to big targets. I really hate the expression, because I think it's lost in translation. I think they assume you know what they mean, but maybe they don't even know what they mean. So, because every pro is really capable of hitting very small targets on the court. So a couple years ago, there was this Federer video where somebody had a ball can or a apple or something on top of their head, and he served and hit it off in one shot. One time on David Letterman, John McEnroe was asked to hit a tennis ball into an open apartment window across the street and 3 stories up. And his first 2 tries were really close. But the third try, it went in. So that was, it just goes to show that the accuracy of great players is better than poor players. So that's really important. Now, the third benefit that will happen is if you play a neutral forehand, then you at least pull your opponent off the court a little bit, and you force them to hit to your forehand, because if they don't hit to your forehand, then they're hitting down the line, and then that gives you a chance to change the direction of the ball with your backhand and get them on the run. So cross-court play means less need to recover, because there's this thing called the floating center, where when you recover, you don't recover perfectly into the center of the court unless you've hit a ball perfectly in the center of the other court. If you hit the ball cross-court, then you recover to a place ever so slightly cross-court so that you can cover the next ball. So when you hit cross-court, your recovery is shorter, which means less effort, easier to get there, easier to set up for your next shot, more centered and ready to bisect the angle of your opponent's possible returns. And that's one of those good old-timey, conventional wisdom pieces that has been lost by some people, but it's still true. You still want to bisect the angle of your opponent's possible return. So if your opponent can hit there, then you want to be here. If your opponent can hit there, then you want to be here, because you want to be in the middle of that, able to cover most of the possibilities. And, another thing that plays into that is that you can't defend a perfect shot by your opponent. That's when you just clap, right? Keep in mind this is important. It's about percentages. You're playing percentages. So if you win one more point than your opponent in a match, then you're going to win 80% of the time, because that's what's true. 80% of matches are won by the player who wins one more point. That's a lot. And 95% of matches are won by the player who wins 51% of the points. And so, that, of course, the exceptions are when somebody loses a first set or a middle set, 6-0 or 6-1, and it was a blowout, but then they win 2 close sets, so fewer, they lost the differential, but they won the match. And it happens. It happens 1 in 20 matches. Kind of interesting. And then if you win 55% of the points, then you will win 99% of the matches. So now consider this for a second. You can lose 45 to 50% of the points and more and still have a chance to win. But obviously you want to win a higher percentage of points. Right now, a pro who's dominating the tour can win 55% of the points on the year. Somebody in the top 10 and perhaps even the number 1 player in the world can win 54%. And then generally top 10 players are winning 53%. And it goes down. I don't have all that data right here in front of me. But cross-court play increases your chances of, first, not losing the point. And then, because that's the most important way to preserve your chance to win the point, is by not losing it. If you hit the down the line too early, you give your opponent an opportunity to put you under pressure right away. If you hit short, same thing. So we want deep cross-court shots. Now, so just to recap that part, you get the extra depth, you have to get the extra distance you can hit into. You can push your opponent further back in the court, and you can run less. And then also, then there's this incremental percentage of each shot hit cross court. You will have a better chance of being able to retrieve it. So you can improve your ability to win points by 1% today if you're very disciplined about hitting cross court. At least 1%. Highly recommend a couple of different books about this. One is by Alan Fox, and it's called Think to Win. And I have never read Winning Ugly, and I don't think I ever will read it, and I don't want to get into that right now. And the other book is Pressure Tennis by Paul Wardlaw. So a little shout out to the directionals. And hope maybe if P.A. Thompson's watching this, hey, P.A., how you doing? Because we have this running directionals joke. But Paul Wardlaw's book is really amazing, and it really digs very deeply into this and gives you lots of things that you can do to develop this. And I'll share one of those. Here's one exercise that you can do with a friend or with your team, anybody that you practice with. You can do a timed exercise where the server is hitting a sort of a friendly serve. The returner has to return it cross court, and then the next shot goes cross court, and then the next shot goes cross court. So if you're successfully able to do that 4 times back and forth, then both players get a point. So it's a cooperative drill. And then you can say, you can make up different levels of points. So another thing that I do is if they can do it back and forth 8 times, then they get 2 points or 3 points or something. And we'll do this for time. So if you're doing it for the first time, I would say set a timer for about 11 minutes, because at first it's going to take a little time to get used to it. And you might fail a little bit, but by the end of 11 minutes, you should be able to be scoring some points. For you or for your players, if you were to do that and find some success there, then next time around, maybe do it for 9 minutes. I've had some pretty high-level teams where we could set them up, and once they're getting in the flow, we'll do it for 3 minutes, and they're scoring. So, and then we're rotating really quickly. But I don't recommend doing 3 minutes right away, because it's just going to feel unsatisfying. Give yourself and some players some time to settle into that drill before changing the conditions. All right, now, at the beginning, I talked about how cross-court play plays into every possible, major strategy. Because really, the best way to hit a winner, if you're playing the power game, is to hit your winner cross-court. Now, the interesting thing is, we use this thing control, hurt, finish. So if the funny thing is if you're hitting pretty hard cross court and then you get a weak shot, so your cross court shot, was the hurt shot and it drew a short shot. Then once you're moving forward and you've got an opening, then you can go down the line for a winner. So one of the rules that I learned way back when from Mike Edlis, who was the coach at Cal State East Bay and had won a national championship in D2 at Claremont College, was rally cross court and attack down the line, but you have to make sure you have an attackable ball. So that steady stream of cross court shots earns you the right to go for a winner when you get a short ball. All right, so that's really important. It's kind of like running to set up the pass, because you can't do play action passing if you have not run the ball. Nobody's buying it. So those cross courts set up you down the line. The second major strategy is pressuring your opponent's movement. So, you want to rally cross court, and then, you might get that accidental ball that goes a little bit more into the corner. So then you've got the opponent pulled off the court a little bit more. And so if it's deep, then that's when you can go for a short cross-court angle to the other side and create that diagonal movement for them. That's going to be difficult. That's going to make them move a lot. If you kind of get an accidental kind of short angle, or if you went for your short angle and you pulled them way off the court and slightly diagonally forward, that's when you can go for your deep cross court to the other side. And now you've got them moving diagonally, because, when you're moving along the baseline, that can be 27 feet. But when you're moving diagonally, then that can become 32 feet. So add 5 more feet to their running, that's 2 whole steps. So you want that. So that's if you're pressuring their movement. And then another thing is that, if you're pressuring their movement and you serve down the tee, which is the corner of the service box, and then you turn them around by hitting to the opposite, to the same corner as, they hit a backhand return if they're a righty, and then you turn them around to hit a forehand going the other way, that pressures their movement. Okay. Now the next one is pressuring their time and space. So you get a deep cross-court shot that pressures the time and space, because they're going to have to run out there quick and hit a running forehand. And the chances that they're going to execute as well on that are not as great. But if you're hitting short balls into the center of the court, you're not pressuring their time and space. They're pressuring yours. All right. So, another piece of that is that when you approach the net, again, quoting Craig O'Shaughnessy, the most effective way to approach the net is with an inside-out forehand to the backhand, because that puts the backhand under more pressure. And that runs counter to a lot of conventional wisdom. I had to change my mind on that, because until I heard that and saw the data, I assumed that down-the-line approaches were the best, right? Starting with the forehand approach down the line to the backhand, and then the backhand to the forehand, which is not the best, right? I mean, you want the forehand to the backhand. It's obvious. But an axiom that has been disproven is don't approach cross-court, because you could call the inside-out forehand to the backhand a cross-court shot. So it's the most effective. So the most effective is inside-out to the forehand, inside-out from the forehand to the backhand, down the line with the forehand to the backhand, down the line, backhand to the forehand. And the worst thing you could do to approach the net is come in cross court on a forehand to the forehand, because you just got that, you have that big lane that they can hit their forehand through on your left-hand side. So, so that's pressuring time and space. And then even if you are, disrupting rhythm, you still are going to have to play some safer shots. Now, look at Nadal, because Nadal, I do believe, is miscategorized. I think people look at him as a grinder, but really, what he really is he's a disruptor. And so his biggest thing is hitting his backhand, his forehand, cross court to the opponent's backhand. But what people don't realize until you see him live, once you see him live, you can really see this, right? How differently he takes cuts at the ball each time. He is not hitting the same ball the same way twice. And he has the intentionality of hitting lots of different kinds of spin. So many times it's up and it's above the shoulder, but sometimes he drives through it a little bit more. And sometimes he's trying to get it to go, over their head. And so there's a lot of variation to that. And yet the main staple is this cross-court shot, his left-handed forehand to other people's backhand. And who are the people who give him trouble? Taller players with strong backhands, or left-handed players who can deal with that with their forehand. So interesting how that works. And then finally, even if you're playing a game where it's the last resort and you just have to run around and hit one more shot in, then it's foolish for you to hit the ball down the line a lot because you're creating more running for yourself. So you have to, even though you've resigned yourself to running around and just hitting one more shot, you have to reduce the amount of running. So very selectively go down the line. I mean, you want to keep everything deep cross court because that will make you harder to beat. It will put your opponent in positions where it's harder for them to hit a winner against you. And so that's how the cross court plays into every major strategy. Now, you know, I'm open if somebody has a fifth category of strategy. I would love to hear your ideas about what is a sixth category, right? But mine are overpower the opponent, pressure their time and space, pressure their movement, disrupt their rhythm, and, you know, grind. So I'm not a big fan of grinding. I think that what happens is grinders will lose to players who have a little bit more skill and can execute well one of the other four strategies. So grinding to me is a last resort. And so let me know if you have any questions or comments. If you leave a comment, that's really good. I will look back at those and answer you in short order. Also, you can look forward to this book coming out at the end of the month. And thank you for watching. Thank you for those of you who have, you know, bought me a cup of coffee. My Venmo is at Bill Patton 720. Bill Patton 720 on Venmo. So if you want to do that, or if you want my PayPal, send me a message, say hi. And thank you to those who have been sending me messages. I appreciate those. I mean, you know, it's funny how, so let's spread the gratitude around, because a little bit of gratitude goes a long way. And as long as you're finding value in it, then I'm happy to keep doing this. All right. So thanks. Have a great Saturday. I'm getting ready to go teach some tennis today. So I actually do teach tennis in Oakland, California. And then in other news, I think after tomorrow's video, I'm going to shave. So I'm going to make a shave my beard video, and I hope you enjoy that. All right. Have a good one.